Okay, I wanted to do this video. Some people got confused. First off, they were trying to call me Hispanic and saying I was racist to my own people. Hispanics are not my own people, sweetie. What are you talking about? You are so weird. You know, just look at me. Obviously, Hispanics aren't my people. Now, what I was saying in the comments, because some people got offended, yes, I talk about this, okay? I grew up around white people, and the only people of color I grew up around were Hispanic people. Now, the Hispanic people were a mess, okay? They were a mess. Drug addicts, drug dealers. All they did was bring drugs into the neighborhoods and the community and the city and the country, as that's what they do. All these individuals really were good for was going to prison. They knew how to get to prison very well and commit crimes very well, When they think that they're doing well for themselves, they actually are usually bussers. Yeah, they think they're real successful because they spent 20 years as a busser, and somehow they are like the best of the best now. They're PhD quality because they have had 20 years as a busser, probably living off of the government all the while. So, I mean, they stay at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the barrel, okay? In my community, that's where I was familiar with Hispanic people. I know. That's a major thing and a major reason why I said I could definitely go completely Cynthia G on Hispanic men. I definitely could. They even have some weird homosexual obsession with black men. They really do. They see black men in a weird, creepy way. It's almost like they're gay or something. I don't know, maybe they are at a large amount, but I think they feel because they're smaller men, black men, they kind of, they fear kind of like as if they're female. They think of themselves in a more feminine sense than black men. I don't see that with white men. I don't see white men seeing black men as more like they are like a feminine version of a black man. That's just weird to me. But Hispanic men do. I think it's just because they're shorter and they're smaller and more delicate, honestly. Some other things is, racism. I was raised kind of like by my mother to view Hispanics as, lower achieving. And I talk about this, being part Native American and part Creole. My mother actually had issues with people who are of Native American descent and Hispanic descent. And for me, I've never really seen it as a personal thing because I'm not part Mexican. So, people keep thinking the name has to do with Mexicans. No, it has to do with my great-grandfather who's Dominican. So it's not got to do with anything like that. But, for me, I experienced, in my childhood, some things that were negative on Hispanic people, and especially the racism from them. Because you see, yes, my mother was negative towards them, but Hispanic people were racist to my mother, And it's kind of like, from my perspective, it's like, I've seen how they will call my mother the N-word while they're a cashier at a store. I've seen how they specifically will, make comments on black people who may have some kind of food benefits. They say a lot of stuff, and they think they can get away with a lot of stuff simply because they claim they're a person of color when convenient, even though they identify as white. Look at their demographics. It generally says for the mestizo populations, even though back at home they identify as mixed with Native American and white, when they come here they want to be white. They have this inferior complex many of the time. This is why they try to make themselves out to be white, even though they're a whole 50% Native American on average. And, because they have this self-hate with themselves and they're not too happy with the fact that they're not white, they take it out also on black people. They try to be even extra racist to black people. And they use being a person of color, so-called, on convenience to use it against black people. So from my perspective, yeah, of course I wouldn't see everything that they do in a very positive light, especially when they are underachievers. Statistically, they're not doing too well, and just admitting that isn't really wrong. I mean, like, Cynthia G and the other types of black female content creators who try to say black men aren't doing too well. Why is it wrong to admit another race of man isn't doing too well either? I mean, Hispanic men aren't doing too well. And it's actually worse than black men, because African men are doing way better than any Hispanic person is doing of any country of origin, including Cuban Americans. So, to me, it's just like, when people talk about resources and having, success and things of that nature, well, they clearly don't have resources. They leave their own country just like Africans do, and they, don't make that well of their own countries. They don't have successful countries. Yet, in the divested sectors and stuff, they try to ignore it. But it's like, it is what it is. They have less successful countries than black countries. I know people don't want to admit this, but they do. Think of it. Bahamas is way more successful than Mexico, economically and academically. It's far more ahead than Mexico and many other Hispanic countries. In Bahamas, it's a black country. People always like to focus on Africa, but there are black countries outside of Africa who are actually doing much better than the countries in Africa, for whatever reason that may be. But, to me, it's just like, kind of like, this is why I personally am just like, I don't like to do things like this too much. Like, I don't like to get all completely like, how Cynthia G basically complains about black men while sucking black dick? That's what I don't like to do. And that's why I'm nice most of the time. I don't talk about that often, because I'm like, if I'm sucking, I don't need to be speaking. I have to stop sucking to start speaking. I mean, technically that's kind of true. Literally, I'd have to stop sucking. Anyway, you get what I'm saying, though. What I'm saying is, you can't go for a certain type of man for however long and then try to dog him at the same time. This is why I would never dog Hispanic men like that as a singled out situation. In a comment, sure, but I wouldn't usually make a video on that, because it's just like, then what's it mean about me for sucking it? You get what I'm saying? I mean, like, it's stupid. It's stupid to have that kind of perspective and try to actually, talk about it a lot. But you see a lot of black women content creators who have that perspective, where they will suck black dick and then just complain about it all the time. It's like, get off of it or stop talking. So that's just me. Like, I mean, like, if you're asking why did I put that comment down, well, the reason I put that comment down is because Everything I've known, everything I've grown up with, everything I have experienced and seen, I understand how dusty they can get. Yep, how dusty, spicy smoke can get. Um, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna really talk about it every day and try and put them on blast all the time. To me, it's like if I put them on blast, I'm basically putting myself on blast too. You know, I guess I think further than just like at face value, just complaining about a situation. Well, what's my part in it? You know what I mean? So that's why, to me, I don't do the whole Cynthia G thing where you suck and then you complain about it. I mean, yeah, you pick one or the other, and that's why I don't talk about it really. As far as how I grew up, I try my best to not really act on how I was raised and actually think people are individuals. This is what I mean. I don't specifically think Hispanic men are lesser men on the individual basis. As a collective statistical basis, that's different. But as an individual basis, I try not to judge. That's why I'm open to dating them. So, that's just how it is. Even though I prefer white men, even though, even some men who look white who are Hispanic, to me, they're, I'm not going to say that. But my point is, I don't try to judge, okay? So, I mean, I might say a comment here or there, but I try not to judge. And my thing is, people are individuals. If most of a group is a certain way, does not mean all of them are. So judge everybody on an individual basis, especially if they can be a possible match. So that's all I have to say in this video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and have a great day. Comment down below. Bye, guys.